Hey there, welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. I've got some fun crafts coming up for you today. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started.
Today we'll be working on some farmhouse rustic home decor Christmas crafts. I said that backwards. Let's get started with project number 1. For this project, I will have a link to my blog in the description box for a free pattern here. Now, the pattern's going to come in 2 pieces. You're going to have to tape it together, and then it'll have these 2 pieces that go together to form a hat. And of course, we're making a snowman, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is use this kind of textured fabric. Well, it's not fabric. I think it's a bedspread. I found it at a craft show, had a little bit of staining on it. Got it for like $10, king size. I just kind of cut around the stain, but I love the texture. You can use any fabric you want. I thought it would be great to work for this snowman, so I'm just going to tape it on here, and then off camera I'll just go ahead and cut it out. You're going to need 2 pieces here like I've got here, and then for the hat, I've got these leftover pieces from another quilt I've been using. If you've been watching my last videos, that's stuff I'm going to use. This piece here is actually from a placemat that I found at a thrift store, and I've seen these at Walmart, I believe. But I'm going to cut this for 1 piece of my brim. You're going to actually need 2 pieces for the brim and 2 pieces for the hat. But I want to use different fabrics. I'm also going to use a piece of batting here. That's your choice whether you want to or not, but I just want it to look thick and lumpy bumpy. And so here's a piece of another quilt I've been cutting up. I'm going to cut my second brim piece out of that. Yeah, I just want it to look lumpy and all quilted, so I like to add extra batting in there. And I just pick up the batting at Walmart by the yard. Now I'm taking the top piece here and I'm cutting 2 pieces of batting out of it. You don't have to use any batting for the top because we're going to stuff it anyway. But again, I want it to look thick and quilted, lumpy, bumpy. You know the routine. I'm cutting out 2 pieces of this quilted fabric for my hat, and I'm making, one side different from the other. Nothing sort of matches. It matches, but it doesn't match. Okay, here's what it's going to look like when all the pieces are cut. I'm going to also cut a couple of buttons here, button places here out of that placemat. We're going to kind of add a button to the top, so it's going to be like the background of our button area is what I'm trying to say, just freehanding a couple of circles. So when you're done for the brim, I've got 2 pieces plus batting. For the top of the hat, 2 pieces plus 2 pieces of batting and my 2 buttons. All right? Now we're going to work on a snowman. I'm going to sew around it, plus leave a space for opening. You can glue around it, around the edges, in between the fabrics, leaving the bottom open. And I know in the upper left you saw a little fur baby. This is Bella. Now, all of you know that we had our devastated loss of Marley, and we hadn't planned, I almost want to cry again, we hadn't planned for a while to get a new little fur baby, but I think God just put Bella in our lives to give us something else to focus on and care for, to get our mind off of our sweet baby Marley, and she is just so super sweet. I love her markings. She is a tortie rag doll. We had to drive 3 hours to go pick her up from a breeder, but we just love her. She's got so many characteristics of Marley. It's amazing, but super sweet. So you're going to see her throughout the video. Everyone, welcome Bella to the family. All right, so now I'm coming in on the snowman here, trying to get away from the tears. Let's think of something else. Sewing along the edges, again, leaving that bottom open like I discussed before. And if you're a gluer, you can use hot glue or a fabric glue and do the same here, just gluing right along the edges in between the layers of your fabric. Okay? So we'll get this portion done. I want you to see it all. And yes, I am using a fabric, oh my gosh, because I'm sewing fabric, a thread that's a little darker on the snowman just to give it that little bit more texture. And as you see, I'm leaving the edges of that snowman out. I'm not going to hide them. I'm not going to tuck them in or anything because I want this to look rustic and farmhouse, as the title of this video stated. Now you're going to stuff your snowman as fat as you want him to be. There's Bella trying to play with it. She just cracks me up. She's got like stuff all over her from going around on my craft table, little fuzzies and stuff moving around on the craft table. Anyway, stuff your snowman as fat as you want him to be. And then once you're done, and I stuff him like really fat. When I was done, I was really, look how fat he is. When you're done, you can glue him or sew him together. I'm not going to do it quite yet. I'm going to set it aside because we're going to work on the hat and stuff, and then I'm going to sew everything at once. So to the hat, here's my pieces again, right? If you're a gluer and you use batting, go ahead and glue your batting down and then put your hat together and then glue along the outer edge, 3 edges, side, top, and other side, and leave the bottom open because that's where you're going to stuff whether or not you use batting. The hat, if you use batting, put your 3 pieces together. If you don't, put your 2 pieces together and glue. And then I've got a little patch here I cut off from another blanket. I'm going to sew around, and I'm going to sew around those little buttons just to add detailing. Okay, if you are not a sewer, you can use like a Sharpie marker, make little dash lines to add detailing on your fabric. Here I am sewing my snowman clothes, and now I'm sewing around the buttons. Again, as I discussed, to bring in that detailing with that little bit darker thread so that you see that, or actually it's the backing for the buttons, right? Again, Sharpie marker would look cute with tiny little dash lines around it, like an extra fine Sharpie marker. You don't want the little fat Sharpie markers. Then I'm sewing the hat together. And as you can see when I'm sewing this, because I added the extra batting and that quilted fabric and all that, that quilted fabric kind of puffs up around the edges. You see that batting inside, and it just makes it all fluffy, and that's what I like. And I actually found another piece of this blanket I've been cutting up that had a little frizzy on the end that I switched to use for like a little patch on the hat. So that's what this little piece is for. I'm going around it twice here just to give it some fun, and you don't really see the thread all that much. I probably could have like switched it to darker, but you know, it's there. And now I'm sewing around the edges of the hat, and I wanted this really lumpy bumpy. That's why I added the extra batting in there so that, you know, it just will look really full when we actually go to stuff it as well. So here's what everything looks like. Got our hole to stuff here on our hat. Got the brim all done. Looks fun, different textures. Our background for our buttons. Our little patch here. See, just it's real subtle on this one, but that's okay. We're going to add to it. And now I'm going to stuff the hat. I was amazed how much stuffing I got in such a tiny opening here as well. Use my scissors to get it down into those corners. Stuffing the hat's going to help us to kind of glue it to the brim. So that's why I decided to, you know, add that stuffing too. But you also want it to look like a full hat. This is what that looks like. And now I'm going to take some Distress Oxide ink and Vintage Photo, and I'm just going to distress everything up a little bit. This is what's going to give us our little rustic texture to our snowman. The tattered edges will help as well, giving us that look. You could skip this part. You don't have to do this part, of course, but I love all the fun textures of the placemat and the wool blanket I cut up and all that. Here is a tag I created with some clickable stamps. I will actually show you how I'm going to do that in the next craft, but it's already done. I went ahead and did that off camera, so I'm just inking this up. And if you've been watching my last couple of Christmas videos, we've seen this a million times. I will have a link down in the description box to the playlist of all my Christmas videos so far this year in case you missed any. Now I've got some just checkered fabric here I get from Walmart. I'm ripping it into like a 1-inch strip, and then I've got a long strip of muslin, probably 1.5 inches or so. I'm inking both of these up. All right, just so it goes in with the rest of it, and pulling off extra strings, because when you rip, you get the extra strings. But I like to rip the fabrics because it kind of gives us that tattered look. Once that's done, we're going to move into our hat. I'm going to glue it on, but I'm also going to do a little hand sewing as well, because I am going to sell this at a craft show. The glue will hold perfectly wonderful, but in my brain, I just feel like I need to add a few little stitches right around the base, just a couple of it. The stitches aren't going to be seen because we're going to add that piece of little checkered fabric around the bottom of that brim as well. So again, just a couple little stitches, optional if you want. Once that's done, we're going to move into putting our cute little patch on the front of the hat. I just think it gives it personality. I love the little frizz hanging off the end. Then I'm going to bring in some rusty safety pins, some rusty bells, some buttons, a little bit of thread for the buttons, some thick twine, which I get at Walmart. The rusty safety pins and bells, I'll have links down below for you on that. And I'm just going to add a safety pin and a bell to the front of that patch. It just gives it some fun personality. And then I'm going to add some of this kind of crochet thread to the center of one button here, because I don't about 99% of the time, I have to fill the holes in my buttons if I'm not going to actually sew them onto something so it looks like I sewed them on. So just running that through and then tying a knot in the back side of the button and cutting off the excess, and we'll just glue that onto our little background piece. I'm going to ink that button up just a little bit, going with the rustic look, and I'll glue it onto that backing, and then I'm going to take another safety pin Rusty Bell and glue it onto the other button backing, and then we're going to attach the hat to the snowman. I will add some stitches on here as well just because I am selling this, as I said earlier, but I have no problems that the Fabri-Tac glue will not hold, or a hot glue, and I'm making sure I'm just pressing it on and holding it tightly, and then once that is secure, I'm going to add that little bit of checkered or plaid fabric. Again, get that at Walmart. I'm going to wrap it around twice and just kind of tie a little knot here at one side. And then, of course, I'll go ahead and adjust the tails a little bit because they're just a little bit too long for me. So adjust it how you like it. And I do go ahead and add just a little bit of spot glue around the brim underneath that plaid fabric just so it stays in place and bunched up where I've got it bunched up around the brim area there. Then I'm going to go ahead and glue the buttons onto the snowman. Just 2. You could do 3. And as you can see here, I'm not adding any kind of face, am I? So I don't want to hear it in the comments. This is a blank face snowman. It's supposed to be rustic and farmhouse and fun. As you can see here, I'm adding a little bit more of that distress ink around it and around the buttons just to give it fun. But you could add eyes in, a nose, and even a mouth if you want. But I chose on this particular one, I've actually made 2 for the show, not to have any facial features. I know it's weird, but I think it looks kind of cool. Now I'm taking that muslin strip here and I cut it in half, and I'm going to make it like a little scarf at one side, of course, and just kind of tie it into a little knot, but I cut it in half for more texture. I'm going to glue the little frosty tag right underneath where I knotted it there, and that thick twine from Walmart into a bow, and I'm going to glue it at the top underneath that knot. Just like that, and I'll go ahead and cut the ends off as Bella helps me here. And she's going to roll on this and look all cute and try to play with everything. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of glue that knot down too over that twine so that it stays in position. And I try to pin something on there, but she won't let me. She is just so super cute. And then I'm going to add another Rusty Bell and safety pin here so it kind of matches in with the other 2 because things look good in odd numbers, right? Pin it right over the knot of that bow ensemble. And once this is done, I'll go ahead and add some shimmer spray. It's clear with just fine silver glitter, although that does come in other colors. I'll have a link down below to the Etsy store I get this, and that makes this project complete. Let's move on to project number 2. For this project, we're going to start with some of this light colored felt. I got mine at Hobby Lobby. I believe Joann's carries it as well. I made it 4.5 inches tall by 5 inches in length. It's more of an oval. You might want to make it more circle shape. You'll see why later on, but I thought it would be fun kind of oval. You can glue around it with hot glue or a fabric glue just between the layers right close to the edge, but leave a small opening for stuffing. I'm going to take mine to the sewing machine and, of course, sew close to the edge. I'm probably about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge just because I want my oval to be as big as possible. But again, I'll leave about a 2 to 3 inch opening to stuff it. This is what it looks like. Now, usually when you do like a circle or an oval shape, it's nice once you've glued it or sewn it to come in with some scissors and just make some little snips right up to your glue or sew line all the way around. Don't go through that glue or sew line, right up to it. And that way when you turn it right side out, it's supposed to kind of help give it a better shape because it allows that fabric to kind of open up on the inside to give you more of a round shape. I know it looks funny here. Once you've got it turned right side out, go ahead and stuff it as full as you want it. And I usually just stuff my things fairly tightly, and then you can glue it closed. But if you are a gluer and you glue it closed, I'm going to hand sew mine closed here. Make sure if you're a gluer that you take those raw edges that are sticking out and you fold them in toward the stuffing to make it look nice and finished, okay? If you are a beginner sewer, I'll have a link down below to my blog where it shows you how to kind of do basic stitches if you want to take a look at that because you want to sew it closed like I'm doing here. But as you can see, it's fairly easy to do, but this will take you a little bit more in depth to show you how to do it. I'll do that all the way across, and this is what my oval shape looks like when I'm done. I probably should have went rounder, but I don't know. I was just trying to make it fun and give it a little bit of personality. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. I'm going to use Distress Oxide ink in Vintage Photo and Worn Lipstick, and we're just going to kind of color up our cookie is what we're making here. So I'm taking the pink Worn Lipstick and making two big, bright, round cheeks, and I'm not going to tone them down. I want them to stay nice, bright, round. You could use dried paint here, even like actual blush makeup if you want. And then I'm going to come in with the other ink and just kind of shadow around it, around the top, just to give it some depth on this so that our cookie's not so flat looking, okay? We're just kind of giving it the shadowing to give it some depth. And also gives it personality, of course. All right, now I'm going to come in with my fine tip Sharpie marker and just kind of right above those cheeks make two little dots so I know where to make some eyes. And then I'm going to use a regular Sharpie marker to make the eyes. You could actually add buttons here. You could use the end of a paintbrush and some paint and dot them on. But what I do is I make the eye first. I kind of color it in and I let it dry just a little bit. And then I can come back in and darken it. But I kind of like this for this particular project because it allows the eye to be kind of soft. And then I'm going to come in with some of this puffy paint and I'm just going to do some wavy around the perimeter to give it like our frosting on our cookie. Okay, and then you have to let this dry overnight. That's the only thing I don't like about puffy paint. It literally takes a long time. And when you're done, I've got 5 cookies here, although in the end I only needed 4. You can decide. And now here's the clickable stamps I talked about in the first project. I will have the link down below to Michael's. I just stamp it onto a ripped piece of muslin here. And then I've got 2 pieces of batting over to the left. I'll bring it in that I've cut into a tag shape here that I can sew the muslin to right on top, or if you're a gluer, you can glue it together. But I just love that look of that batting and that muslin fabric together in a tag. I'm going to bring in one more product here. This is a bucket that we're going to be using. I'm going to set it aside. Got this at Dollar Tree, but we're going to come back to it in a minute. In the meantime, I've cut 2 different pieces of fabric that went together very well into a 12 by 12 size, as well as a piece of batting, and you can either glue around the edges all the way together or sew around the edges like I'm going to, and of course I'll sew around the tag, and I'm going to show you that portion here now so you can see the process being done. I want some kind of fabric laying inside our little bucket, right? And I wanted it padding, so it'd give it a little thickness. You don't have to do that. You can just do like 1 piece of fabric if you want and just lay it in there. But I thought it would be cute to do 2 pieces, you know, that alternated but went together. So you could use either side, a little bit of batting in the middle to kind of go in with the look of like the batting of the fabric little tag, that kind of thing, so it all looks cohesive together. And here I am sewing that together. Again, all 3 pieces were cut into a 12 by 12 shape. You don't have to have the batting in between if you don't want, and you just want the 2 pieces of fabric together. That works too. Again, you can glue around all of it and glue it together if you want, okay? So I'll just finish this up a little bit and then we'll kind of start to move back into the bucket here. So now we're bringing our bucket back in. Of course, I don't want the word flowers in garden on it. I wish they would make these without words. It'd be great. This size. I know they make taller ones. Anyway, so I went in with some fingernail polish remover and a cotton pad and just a little bit of rubbing. Took about 10 minutes. Removed the words off both sides. I kind of like used a cotton pad with it completely saturated with the polish remover and let it lay on it for a minute, and then I rubbed it and it came off really good. And then I also wanted to rustic my bucket up, so I used a mixture of vinegar and peroxide and salt. I'll have a link down below to my video I put out a few years ago. Really easy to do this method. I did it overnight for 2 nights because, you know, it's a round object. I wanted it to soak on one side and then the other, and then of course I washed it all off and it gave us that nice rustic looking look. You could skip this part if you want. And then as you can see, I filled the inside with some crinkly paper that came in with something I ordered. You could put foam in the bottom, whatever you want. I just wanted to take up the space in the bottom. Now let's move on to our little cookies. I'm going to use the shimmer dust and I'm going to shimmer the front and back of our little cookies. I do it pretty heavily because I really want it to shimmer. And then I'm going to add some more shimmer at the top of the cookies. I'm going to do some spray adhesive. You could add some glitter. I don't have any just plain white glitter. This has kind of like colored speckles in it. I don't want that. So I'm actually going to use some German glitter glass here. And yes, it's really glass. I have some fine here and then some that's like a shard. It's a little bit more coarse. I'll have a link down below where you can find this at. And so I just spray along the top of the cookie and then add both of the glitter glass here. It just makes it a little bit more chunky of a shimmer there. And you can know, of course, can use regular glitter and really chunky it up, but I just think it adds to it. I love how it looks. I'll do one more here, again, just around the top, a little bit of fine, a little bit of coarse glitter glass. You could do the same with regular glitter, a little bit of fine, a little bit of coarse, and then I'll finish all my cookies this way. So here they are all complete. And now I'm going to lay our little lining into our bucket here. I like the way it looks when you pick it up and you just see that little rest down at the bottom. Again, it's your choice if you want to do it or not. Here's what it looks all the way around. I just like it. And I like that it didn't quite rest it all the way around. It didn't quite take off everything. It looks perfect to me. And then I've got about a 2-inch ripped piece of muslin here. And I'm going to just tie it into a bow. And then I'll go ahead and adjust the tails. I'll snip them and rip them so it looks like the rest of the bow. And while I'm doing this, I do want to say these 2 projects are not my original idea. I've seen many versions of them pinned on Pinterest. And I just took a little bit from everything and added my own flair in it and came up with what I came up with. Thank you to whoever originally created all these different versions of it. This is my version, but it was really fun to do. So now I'm going to add in the cookies. These aren't where I'm going to put them. I'm just sort of adding them in where I need to so I can see where I want to place the bow, okay? And what I'm going to do is make a little mark here with a Sharpie marker, and you could glue or hot glue your bow on, but I'm going to go ahead and use a needle and thread and sew it onto the fabric. Just make a couple of little stitches here again because, yes, I'm selling this, of course. We all know I've said this like 10 times in this video, and so I just kind of want to make sure it's all together. And you know, because I always say I have this positive outlook on the Fabri-Tac glue. Nothing's going to come apart, and it doesn't, but I just feel like I have to add some stitches too to make it even more secure. Now I'm going to come in with the Fabri-Tac glue once my bow is sewn on and just kind of glue along the edges and glue that lining to the bucket so that it doesn't come apart. Okay? And at this point, you're going to have to let me know in the comments. When I go to put the cookies in, they fit so snugly. If you move them, they're going to pop out. So I know I'm going to get different opinions, but I need your opinion to know if you were going to buy this at a craft show, would you want the cookies all glued in? Would it make it easier for you, or would you want them popped out so you could store them differently? So I'll just kind of take the general most popular consensus and tell me what to do here, whether I need to glue the cookies in or not. So now I'm coming in and I'm just inking up the muslin tag and the muslin bow to go in with the inking of the cookies. I'm shimmering the liner and the bow and the tag with our shimmer spray so it goes in with the cookies as well. And then I added a little bit of that crinkly paper on the inside because I noticed when I kind of added the cookies, you could see blank spots down below the cookies, and I didn't like that, so I thought that kind of filled in the holes a little bit. And now I'm taking some twine, and it's red and cream twine I get at Dollar Tree, and tying it into a bow, and then I'm going to glue it to the tag here. I almost forgot what I was gluing it to, just kind of down here in a corner a little bit. And then I'm also going to add a small clothespin. I get these at Walmart in the office section. These ones tend to be in the office section. I'm going to ink it up. They have ones in the craft section, but they're either really mini or long and skinny. And these little short fat ones are in the office section for some reason. Add a little glue on the inside, so when I glue it over the bow and the tag and the twine bow, it's all going to hold together and not come off. Get it into place, everything good. And then I'm going to bring in this bell. I get these at Hobby Lobby, and these are bulb pins because they're shaped like a bulb. You can get them on Amazon or in the sewing section at Walmart. I'm going to clip it to the top of the bow, and that makes this project complete. So I hope you like both of the projects I came up with today. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know which one was your favorite. And as we get in a little further into this final look here, I'm going to add the other snowman that I made off camera that's in a little bit different colors than the one we made on camera. Also, remember in your comment to let me know if I should glue these cookies in or not. Please remember to give this video a thumbs up. It really does catch that algorithm, and it allows YouTube to say, hey, check out this chick's video, and it helps my channel to grow. If you walked in here for the first time and you're just checking things out and you're digging what you saw, make sure before you click off, you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so that you don't miss out on another video from me. Before I go, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. As a believer in Christ, you know that you are made in His image and also made to worship Him for His glory and purpose. But sometimes as you walk through life circumstances, worship doesn't come easy. As you have difficult struggles, you find it hard to change your thought process from your emotional struggle into finding your happiness in worshiping our God. It's hard to celebrate His goodness when you feel as though you've been left alone in the desert place, and frankly, you just don't feel like worshiping God. This is where you must make the choice to put one foot in front of the other as you find your way to stand in His presence on holy ground. As you face the Almighty King, this is where you allow your heart to pour out His praise. This is where you lay down what you've been walking through, and you allow His river of peace to flow over you. And as you praise Him, allow Him to carry you forward on your journey. Allow Him to comfort you as you lay down your troubles, and allow your healing to begin. It won't be an easy process to find joy in the midst of pain, and it may even be a struggle to sing or feel the lyrics of a song. But as you sing, allow the music to wash over your soul, because it's the praise that allows God to set you free. It may even be hard to sing about His greatness when you don't feel so great in your situation, but you have to be willing to allow the rain to fall harder as you stand your ground in the name of the King. Allow the words of the song to fill your soul. Allow it to become your prayer as God releases His grace over you. Through the worship, don't be afraid to let God see your emotions, because it's okay to worship God just as you are. This is how you release the pain, and this is how you heal. Praise lifts up the name of the King, and your thoughts begin to find the peace that God so willingly offers you. It also allows His love to weave through all the entanglements of your sorrow, and it breaks the bonds that the enemy is trying to hold you to. But God is greater, He is stronger, and He loves you more. In the book of Psalms, chapter 40, verses 1 and 2, it says, God will turn to you. He will hear your cry. He will lift you up, and He will give you a firm place to stand. Trust in God's hope and lean into worshiping Him. And when you lean into your praise, the gratitude of your heart will follow. Allow the hymn of praise to soften your sorrow. Your trial won't last forever. It may take some time, but your joy will come. It will come with the rising of the sun. The road may feel long, the journey through the desert may seem to go beyond the horizon, but God has prepared for you a place to find your strength. So stand firm and know that He hears you. Allow the words of praise to heal the brokenness of your situation. Allow God's faithfulness to carry you to higher heights as you trust in His goodness and worship at His throne. God will help you to sing a new song as you rise up, and allow your faith to be found in the one who calls you by name. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.